Kapow! What is up, everyone? Wow. I don't expect a ton of people to be on tonight's live stream, but hopefully you'll catch us on Team Replay. How is everyone on this fine Thursday? Is it Friday? No, it's not Friday. Is it Wednesday? No, it's Thursday. It's fine Thursday evening. It's a little bit late. It's 8 o'clock my time, 8:30, which means it's about 11:30 on the East Coast. My name is Jesse J, aka the Cosmic Cowboy, and here for the next hour or so, we are going to do what we do best and help you prepare for your CompTIA Security Plus certification. It is the entry level, the bare minimum that you should go into the industry with on your resume. Some people don't need it because they might have some good networking skills, or maybe they've been in the industry for a really long time already, and they're able to move through the channels of IT and into cybersecurity. But for a lot of us regular folk, It's a good it's a good certification to have on your resume. Those hiring managers like to see it. Oh, DJ BSEC in chat. Good to see you. Welcome back to the party. Hope you're doing well, man. We miss you on the daily cyber threat brief every single morning at 8 a.m. We miss you. We miss your wit, your humor. We do use your EPSS lookup tool quite a bit, or at least I see Jerry use it. I'm not on nearly as much as I used to be either, because I work and I drive to work and I have to get up early. But that's all right. We get up early. Let's do this. Let's get cooking. I want to start off by thanking our session sponsor for sponsoring Slay Security Plus, being a part of what we do. Look, zero-day exploits and supply chain attacks keep you up at night. They keep your boss up at night. They keep your bosses up at night. Don't worry anymore and harden your security with ThreatLocker. Worldwide companies like Edelman, TrueCar, UCF, JetBlue, and others trust ThreatLocker to secure their data and keep their operations moving. ThreatLocker takes a deny-by-default approach to cybersecurity and provides a full audit of every action, whether it's allowed or it's blocked, for risk management and compliance. Onboarding and operations fully supported by their US-based, very important US-based cyber hero support team. If you're interested, somebody you know is interested, you can get a free 30-day trial and see how ThreatLocker can help prevent ransomware and ensure compliance. Visit threatlocker.com. Let's get cooking. Let's get into some Security Plus questions. You know how we do. We usually start things off with a PBQ. If you're practicing for your exam and you stumble across this video, between now and then, know that the Security Plus certification starts off with 1 to 6 performance-based questions. The more PBQs you get, the less multiple choice you get, and vice versa. They will start off with a scenario like this. I highly recommend you read it and understand what the question is asking you, and then you can go into the question. So let's get kicking. You're a junior security administrator for a US-based financial institution recently undergoing a third-party security audit. The audit revealed vulnerabilities related to the institution's web services and outdated transport layer security configurations, aka TLS. Your task is to analyze these vulnerabilities, propose remediations that comply with regulatory standards, and enhance the institution's security posture. Well, what are some of the considerations that we're thinking about? Let's look at our log analysis. You've received a security logs indicating a potential compliance and security risks. Analyze the logs and recommend actions to mitigate the risks indicated by the logs. Web services. Your audit report found that some areas of your web services were using HTTP, Hypertext Transfer Protocol, which is insecure to vulnerable attacks. Identify these areas and suggest secure alternatives. Next component or consideration to think about is the transport layer security. Your institution relied on older versions of TLS, which pose significant risks, such as being susceptible to downgrade attacks. Suggest updated configurations that follow industry best standards and practices. And then what compliance regulations are we looking at? What did we get in trouble with? Any proposed changes must conform to federal regulations and industry compliance standards. Note, the institution will evaluate your recommendations based on how they adhere to compliance standards and improve the financial institution security posture. All right, I think we got a pretty good idea of what we need to do. So here are our logs. These are some homemade CompTIA logs. And I always recommend, and I say this in every one of our live streams, that when you sit down and you look at your performance-based questions, that you click on the various components of the PBQ to see what you can interact with. Right? Because it's going to be drop down. It might be a drag and drop. It might be fill in the blank. It might be a configuration question where you're just typing some things in. But it's really good to just understand what is the question asking you. We got our scenario here. All right. Looks like on 9/6 of 2023, alert, multiple failed login attempts detected from the IP 195.128.100.5 location of Russia. Go figure. We see another alert, multiple failed login attempts from IP 60.50.150.110 and the location of Malaysia. Not good. So we're seeing some brute force action, multiple failed login attempts. Maybe there were some leaked credentials. Maybe they're just doing some spray and pray techniques. However, at 2:15 or 14:15, on the same day in the same year, we see warning: unauthorized data access attempt on file. Customer financial records .csv or comma separated values, user anonymous. And then just a minute later, we see unauthorized data access attempt on file, customer financial records 2023.csv, user anonymous. So we've got some issues here. We've got some failed login attempts. And then it looks like we've got some unauthorized data access attempt on file. So perhaps they were able to exfil some of this data, or at least look at it. They're not supposed to access it. The user was set to anonymous. You can look at this data. So that's some poor access controls that we're going to want to review. Let's mitigate some actions, right? What's the first thing we want to look at here? We can enable geo IP blocking. We can enable social media monitoring, increase firewall strength, or update the company website. What do we think, team? I'll give you a few minutes if you're watching this on Team Replay to formulate one of the options here. Well, let's look at some of the things that would not make a difference. Enabling social media monitoring. Sure. I mean, we might be able to see if there's some conversations about our industry, maybe some threat intel on social media, increasing the firewall strength. What are they going to do? Have it do some deadlifts? Maybe do some powerlifting? Update the company website. There's an option. We could update it and make it look nicer, and then maybe it will be secure. No, I think the correct answer here, like many of you, is it's pretty obvious. Let's enable geo IP blocking. Geo means geographical. IP is the IP. Remember, this isn't going to be an end-all mitigation, because threat actors can use cloud services from various IP locations. There's just different ways around the IP blocking, but it is the start. What else would we want to do? We can conduct a password audit. We can install new routers throughout the organization. We can perform a hardware audit, or we can update employee handbook. Well, installing new routers probably won't do anything to increase security unless we do something about those routers, such as changing maybe default credentials, going there and making sure that those are secured. Performing a hardware audit. Well, make sure we have everything. So some good asset inventory, really important. You can update the employee handbook. I don't think it's going to do much. I think what we're looking at here is conduct a password audit and then probably reset everybody's password if they suspect it's been compromised. Or even if it isn't, maybe we just do a company-wide password reset. Finally, do we want to conduct a software license audit? We want to implement MFA, replace all the computers, or upgrade the physical security systems. Well, when you look at it from a logical standpoint, we're talking about a attack that happened over the internet. So upgrading the physical security systems isn't going to do much when the threat actor is attacking us over the wire. Replacing all the computers is not going to do anything for the security, so I don't think that's a very valid option. And then conducting a software license audit won't do anything to prevent unauthorized access. Implementing MFA, on the other hand, because it looks like it's not implemented, would, right? In our scenario, it says that they are using an outdated version of TLS, so we want to recommend that they probably, or that they're, let's see what it says. Web services. The audit report found that some areas of your web services were using HTTP, so it's very likely that maybe some of this traffic was intercepted with some plain text credentials going across the wire. So we can either implement HTTP2, HTTPS, SSL, or WPA3. And I am on an 24-hour, 7 days a week on-call rotation. So if I have to leave abruptly, it's because I got an on-call page. One of the beauties of working in cybersecurity and IT computer security is you have on-call shifts, and this week is my call. Well, if they're using HTTP, when we want to keep using the internet, Operation Tech Takeover, good to see you, little bro. You caught me off guard with this late night session. I just saw this. Are we not having a Saturday show? No, we are having a Saturday show. This is kind of a makeup from the 4th of July weekend. I was out of town, and I really try and consistently want to stream every week, even if they're improv streams like this. It's super important to get out and do it. That way I'm taking care of our sponsors, and I'm also taking care of the community and anybody that tunes in on a team replay or something like this. That way they're still getting preparation techniques and whatnot. But no, we'll be back. We'll be on Saturday, 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. They want to continue to use the internet. We want to use it. They were using HTTP. So we want to upgrade them to the secure and encrypted version, which is HTTPS, or Hypertext Transfer Protocol Secured. And it is secured using, what cipher do we want to use? AES 128 CBC, AES 256 GCM SHA-384, Blowfish, which we know is deprecated, or DES EDE3 CBC, which is also deprecated. So it's going to be between AES 128 CBC Galois. Okay, perfect. You know I'm going to support you no matter when. I appreciate that very much. We appreciate that. How are you, Operation Tech Takeover? How's your journey going? How is your evening going? Late night for some of you all. Of these four, AES 256 GCM Galois counter method, I believe. And then SHA-384, secure hashing algorithm 384. The TLS version, we've got SSL v3, TLS 1.0, 1.1, or 1.3. TLS is the protocol, I don't say framework, but TLS is the protocol that replaced SSL. SSL stands for Secure Sockets Layer. V3, I believe, was the last one. And then we had TLS 1.0, 1.1, and currently the most secure version of TLS is 1.3. So if you see that as an option, it's probably a good one to go with. Compliance considerations. Direct relevant regulatory compliance. We're given the option of GDPR, GLBA, HIPAA, or PCI DSS. So I believe it is in domain 5. We talk about compliance considerations, GRC, hashtag GRC Mafia. What's up? We have GDPR. So let's think about this. GDPR is a general privacy compliance framework that affects the EU. So if you're a US company, but you have customers that reside in the EU, GDPR is going to apply to you. GLBA typically applies to financial institutions. HIPAA, which is our Hospital Healthcare Insurance Portability and Accountability Act. If I remember that correctly, I work in a hospital, so I hope I would know that. That is all about PHI and personal or protected health information. And then PCI DSS, right? Payment card industries. That is what handles securing our credit card transactions. While you guys look over this one, I'm going to catch up with real quick what operations. Hold on, let me get my bearings straight here, y'all. Here we go. Just got off of work. I'm in the medical field as well, just studying and trying to learn, getting frustrated because I don't feel like I'm retaining the information. Like I said, hey, that's fair. One thing I would suggest if you are actively working and you can afford to budget it is get yourself something like Pocket Prep. I think Pocket Prep is one of the, hands down, the best apps you can get. Whatever cert you're studying for, they probably have it in there, and it's a phenomenal application for quizzing yourself. You get a 5-minute break. You can jump on Pocket Prep and really quiz yourself on any domain. You can look at your weak areas. Highly recommend it. It is $20 a month, but maybe turn off a couple streaming services, maybe make your coffee at home. I don't know what that looks like for you, Operation Tech Takeover, but to help retain that information while you're busy at work, highly recommend something like Pocket Prep. It's a really good application. Well, we're dealing with financial data, right? It's pretty straightforward. We're dealing with financial data. And when I think of financial data, the first thing I think of is GLBA. I always forget what it stands for. I think the B is Bliley, A is Act, Graham something Bliley Act, I believe. And that is what affects our financial institutions, right? Well, right. These are all just compliance frameworks. None of them, compliance doesn't mean security. PCI DSS doesn't secure anything. It's just the framework to prove you are compliant. Exactly. Well, that's what all these are. They don't actually do anything. They're just privacy frameworks and compliance frameworks. But of the compliance frameworks here, which one is pertinent to this PBQ? We're thinking GLBA. At least that's what I believe it is. Is it Graham? I always think of Blake Lively. I don't know why, but Graham something Bliley Act, I believe. Let's run through it. We got geo blocking, conduct password audit, implementing MFA from our logs. They're using HTTP. We want to make sure that they are using HTTPS. The cipher we're going to use is Advanced Encryption Standard 256 using the Galois counter method and SHA or Secure Hashing Algorithm 384. And then TL Graham Leach Bliley Act. See, I knew it was Bliley and Act and Graham. I just couldn't remember what the L was. Thank you, DJ BSEC. And then we're using TLS 1.3, right? Let's send it. 7 out of 7 correct. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Rock and roll, ladies and gentlemen. Let's jump back into, so last week, and we talk about this every week we talk about this. I got kiddos in the background screaming murder, but I promise they're well taken care of. They are in their kennels. I mean, they're in their play areas. No, I would never put my kid in a kennel unless they wanted to go in one. Totally being silly. But if you hear kids, that's my wonderful offspring having a good time. There's a difference between practice questions and practice exam questions, right? A practice question is just something to get you thinking about the domains, get you thinking about cybersecurity, get you thinking about the cybersecurity or the CompTIA domains, right? And what they're going to ask from you. Whereas a practice test, a legitimate practice assessment, the point of it is to replicate an exam in difficulty, in length of question, the style of question. So don't get quiz questions or practice questions and practice tests confused. All right, let's jump back into this provided CompTIA practice test. I actually think it's a really good one. It's right up there with Professor Messer. I think there's a few more typos here than we've seen in the Messer content, but I think this gives us a one-stop shop, single pane of glass place for us to check that out. And I want to thank my mentor. He's not a session sponsor, although he has sponsored Slay Security Plus in the past, but he's a good friend of mine, DJ B6, and many of yours. Just take a second, check out this video. You know who I'm talking about.
Are you feeling lost in the vast world of cybersecurity, overwhelmed by technical jargon and confusing career paths? You're not alone. That's why I built Simply Cyber. Hi, I'm Dr. Gerald Ozier. Come join Simply Cyber, your supportive and inclusive community for navigating the exciting world of cyber. There's so much to take advantage of. Master the skills you need with Simply Cyber Academy, offering in-depth courses aligned with the GRC analyst role. Never feel isolated. Connect with fellow cyber enthusiasts and professionals in our thriving Discord server. Ask questions, get feedback, share your journey. Check out the Simply Cyber YouTube channel, delivering insightful interviews. What are your thoughts around, web app pen testing as entry level? And I included bug bounty here because that's very accessible to everybody. Practical skill demos and daily cyber threat briefs, all hosted by industry experts. There's so much more to discover. Are you ready to join the community and empower your future? Visit simplycyber.io/socials for all the links and start your cyber adventure today.
Boom. Thank you, Dr. Gerald Ozier, for your friendship, your mentorship, and your commitment to making the cybersecurity industry and community a much better place. Team SC, let's go. Let's get into some practice test questions. Enough jaw jacking. Thank you for going through the PBQ. All right, first test question. A multinational corporation is sending sensitive data to various regional offices securely. What is an optimal cryptographic method to employ in this situation? A, symmetric encryption for all data transmissions. B, asymmetric encryption for all data transmissions. C, employing the use of hashing on all data transmissions. Or D, symmetric encryption for data and asymmetric for key exchange. What do we think? All right, so you're taking your test, you sit down, you're going, all right, I read the question. Let's read it again. A multinational corporation is sending sensitive data to various regional offices securely. What is an optimal cryptographic method to employ in this situation? Okay, so we got a corporation, they're sending it data, all various regional offices securely, multinational, so it's global. What is an optimal cryptographic method to employ in this situation? Do we want to A, use symmetric encryption for all the data transmissions? B, do we want to use asymmetric encryption for all data transmissions? C, do we want to employ the use of hashing on all data transmissions? Or D, do we want to use symmetric encryption for the data, but asymmetric for the key exchange? All right, and if you're just kind of getting your feet wet, or maybe you need to shake the rust off, let's talk a little bit about what symmetric and asymmetric encryption are. Symmetric encryption is the process where the same encryption key is used to encrypt and the same encryption key is used to decrypt that data, right? Asymmetric means not the same. So asymmetric means not the same, right? Not even. There's an encryption key and a decryption key, and we're talking about public key infrastructure, right? Public and private keys. Well, how is hashing going to impact this situation? Well, if we employ the use of hashing on all data transmissions, that might be something we want to do ahead of time, is provide the hashes of what the data looks like before we send it. Because remember, hashing is a one-way function by which we are looking at the integrity of a file or some bits of information before we get them. Maybe we're downloading something from the internet. Maybe somebody is sending you a file. You can run that. No matter the size of the data, you run it against a hashing algorithm, and you're going to get the same fixed length of data, right? And so you can compare what that hash looks like before and after transmissions, but we're not really encrypting anything, right? This is just a way to prove the integrity of said piece of data. Or we can use symmetric encryption for all the data and asymmetric for the key exchange. Asymmetric encryption typically is a more robust method of encryption, but it also is more resource intensive because you're using two different keys. There's more that goes into asymmetric encryption versus symmetric encryption. So securing the encryption with symmetric isn't bad, but it's not necessarily the most secure. Asymmetric encryption for all data transmissions is the most secure, but it's going to be the most performance heavy. And we've got to send this sensitive data to various regional offices securely. We're not going to use hashing in this case because we know that hashing really is just a way to prove integrity. But look at this symmetric encryption for the data, right? So we get the performance of the data, but then we're also using the asymmetric for the key exchange, so that the symmetric keys, those keys are actually being done in a public key infrastructure type of framework. I don't think it's A. I don't think it's B. What do you guys think in class? I see there's a few people who've jumped in stream. Welcome to the party. If this is a random late night stream for you, what's going on? My name is Jesse J, aka the Cosmic Cowboy, and every week we get on here and we do practice CompTIA Security Plus questions. Plain and simple. And while you're looking at these options, my dessert tonight is haichu. Can't really see it. Oh, mambas. Sorry, not mambas. These are delicious. These things are addictive. I can only have one though. Otherwise, I'll eat the whole bag. I'm going to go with symmetric encryption for the data and asymmetric for the key exchange. Let's move on to the next question. Here we go. This is a little bit of a longer question. An IT security analyst at a mid-sized company has observed unusual network activity on a workstation over the past few days. This workstation has initiated frequent and unsolicited communications with an unknown external IP address. Further investigation reveals the presence of unauthorized software on the workstation, which seems to be actively transmitting sensitive system data to this external address and possibly receiving commands or files in return without any visible signs or knowledge of the user. Sounds like a command and control server to me. Given these specific behaviors, what type of malware is most likely responsible for these activities? Agent 57, my man, what is up? Welcome to the party. Good to see you. I am doing well, getting a little late night stream in. What do we think, team? This workstation has initiated frequent and unsolicited communications with an unknown external IP address. Given these specific behaviors, what type of malware is most likely response? Agent 57 wants to go with D, remote access Trojan. Yeah, receiving commands or files without the knowledge of the end user. Maybe they downloaded a legitimate program, but in there was a rat of some kind or remote access Trojan. I agree with you on that one. Move along. A financial institution receives a significant software update. What is the optimal approach to handle this situation in a change management program? Assess impact, test, get approval, apply update. Apply to critical systems first and then rest. Apply at the next maintenance window without assessment. Or update systems with past vulnerabilities only? This is a great question. Financial institution receives a significant software update. What is the optimal approach to handle the situation in a change management program? Assess the impact, Test, get approval, and apply update. A. B. Apply to the critical systems first and then rest. C. Apply at the next maintenance window without assessment. Or D. Update systems with past vulnerabilities only. What do we think? Well, let's look at the questions, right? Apply to critical systems first. Well, if we've got a significant software update and there are some issues with maybe that update breaking some things, we don't want to apply to the critical systems first and then have them be broken and we put the business out of operation, right? Apply at the next maintenance window without assessment. Probably want to apply it at the next maintenance window, but without assessment, right? That doesn't sound very safe. And then update systems with past vulnerabilities only. Well, what about the ones that this is a significant software update? This is going to leave out other systems logically that might need those updates, even if they don't have vulnerabilities. We want to make sure that we're staying patched if possible. And the only way we're going to know that this is going to work is we want to assess the impact. We want to test it, get approval, and then apply the update. This is a pretty straightforward approach. I like it. Agent 57. Answer A. Here we go. A cybersecurity team has discovered an unauthorized alteration in the endpoint configuration of several workstations within the organization, resulting in a malware infection. As part of the response strategy, a team must select a specific mitigation technique to prevent similar incidents in the future. Which of the following is the most suitable approach to undertake? Reread that question like I was sitting down on exam day. A cybersecurity team has discovered an unauthorized alteration in the endpoint configuration of several workstations within the organization, resulting in a malware infection. As part of the response strategy, the team must select a specific mitigation technique to prevent similar incidents in the future. Which of the following is the most suitable approach to undertake? A. Increase the frequency of system audits. B. Offer more secure browsing training to employees. Switch to a different antivirus software. Or D. Implement a stricter group policy. Well, I'm torn. Agent 57 says it's on many workstations. They would go with the implementing a stricter group policy, switch to a different antivirus software. I don't think that's going to fix our problem, right? There's an unauthorized alteration in endpoint configuration. Well, we want to prevent similar incidences. We want to prevent similar incidents like this from happening again. Increasing the frequency of system audits is maybe a valid choice and maybe a partial credit type of answer that CompTIA may accept. But the key word here is prevent similar incidents in the future. And how you're going to do that is probably to implement a stricter group policy, which would not allow for the alteration of the endpoint configuration unless you have a certain level of, you're authorized at a certain clearance level to be doing that on the endpoints, right? Maybe you're a sysadmin or on the IT security team or something like that. So I think that implementing the group policy is going to be the best way to prevent similar incidents like this happening across the environment. So I agree. Let's move on. A cybersecurity team in an organization prepares to carry out an assessment that aims to mimic potential attackers' tactics, techniques, and procedures to identify vulnerabilities and weaknesses in the organization's digital systems. What type of penetration test is the team about to conduct? A, offensive penetration testing. B, defensive penetration testing. C, physical penetration testing. Or D, integrated penetration testing. Yeah, going back to that previous question, DJ BSEC, who's to say the antivirus would stop it? I agree. And DJ BSEC, who is a CISSP holder, agrees with our approach. Ladies and gentlemen, if you want to get some real world insight into how things work at an enterprise level, make sure you check out Dr. Jerry Ozier's Simply Cyber Daily Cyber Threat Brief, not only for all of the, what's kind of happening in hacker world, but also tomorrow is Fridays, which means it's going to have a panel. And I believe we might get blessed by having DJ BSEC, aka Ben Sherrill, long-time sysadmin, IT security, IT compliance, CISSP holder. Check him out tomorrow, 8 a.m. on the Simply Cyber channel. Sorry, Rebel. Yeah, gotcha. All right, so what do we think here, right? We want to mimic potential attacks, techniques, and procedures. That's pretty straightforward. Well, defensive penetration testing, I've never even heard of that before, so I don't believe that's an option. Physical pen tests. All right, so here's something key that rules out physical penetration test is we're looking at the organization's digital systems, right? They're not trying to get to the front door. They're not trying to woo the front desk employee with coffee and donuts and say, oh hold on, let me through, and make their way through, right? So we can scratch off physical penetration testing. I'm not sure what integrated penetration testing is. I would guess maybe that's a combination of web app, physical, and just external and maybe internal pen tests all together. The correct answer here would be A, right? Offensive pen testing. That's what we're looking at. It is the only one that satisfies this. Carry out an assessment that aims to mimic potential attackers' techniques, tactics, and procedures. All right, next question. Moving on. The cybersecurity team of a company notices suspicious activities on its network. Some computers have increased memory usage and are sending out network requests repeatedly to random IP ranges. No one observed any interaction when these activities started. Based on the provided details, what type of malicious activity is most likely happening in the scenario? A, computer worm outbreak. B, a virus infection. C, a Trojan attack. Or D, ransomware infection. Cybersecurity team of a company notices suspicious activities on its network. Some computers have increased memory usage and are sending out network requests repeatedly to random IP ranges. No one observed an interaction when these activities started. Based on the provided details, what type of malicious activity is most likely happening in the scenario? You've got A, computer worm outbreak, B, a virus infection, C, a Trojan attack, or D, ransomware infection. So one thing the question mentions is no one observed any interaction with the system when these activities started. And from my knowledge, experience, a ransomware infection typically involves you doing something, right? You clicked on a link, you downloaded something that triggered the ransomware or opened it. You got it on your system somehow. A Trojan attack typically involves downloading some kind of legitimate software or some kind of legitimate, tool, feature, but in the background, it's doing something malicious, hence the name Trojan. If you're not familiar with that, just rip a Google on it. Virus infection typically requires some kind of interaction. A worm, however, multiple computers have memory usage and are sending out network requests randomly to. So being that it's multiple computers and we're not seeing any interaction, remember, a worm is a type of malware or a type of malicious activity that can replicate and jump from system to system and does not require any user interaction. Just self-propagates. Because we don't see any kind of interaction when these activities started, I lean towards worm as well. Same thing as Agent 57. Moving on. And then we're going to check. We're not finished with the test, but we're going to submit it and see how we did on those questions. An organization receives large amounts of diverse data sources during cybersecurity incidents and needs a more efficient tool. Dealing with system memory, log files, network traffic, and endpoint security data has proven to be chaotic. What primary function would a security, information, and event management system tool to serve in this scenario? A, aggregating and correlating data from multiple sources to enable efficient analysis and reporting. B, automatically executing the entire incident response process, limiting that need for human analysts. C, generating alerts and alarms exclusively when threat indicators appear in the data. Or D, solely creating custom dashboards and reports tailored to specific needs. Tech Ricky, what's going on, bro? Roommate for Wild West Hackin' Fest. Dude, late night Slay Sec Plus. Let's go. That's right. Right, we're looking at memory, log files, network traffic, endpoint security. Trying to go with, trying to individually triage these and investigate them requires a ton of manpower, a lot of overhead, a lot of wasted time. These guys want to implement a SIM, and how is that going to help? Well, it's not going to automatically execute any kind of incident response processes unless you include some kind of SOAR tech, right? A SOAR framework or a SOAR solution, which that's where we get our automation and responses, right, is in our SOARs. Generating alerts and alarms exclusively when threat indicators appear in the data. We're going to get the alerts, but not exclusively, right? Oops. And then solely creating custom dashboards and reports tailored to specific needs. We can do that, but that's not going to be the primary. We got to do some other things first, right? Aggregating and correlating data from multiple sources to enable an efficient analysis in reported. And that's where we're going to get the memory, log files, network traffic, and endpoint security data all in one centralized location. That's where our SIM tool is going to come in really handy. So I like A as well. Yeah, Tech Ricky, I tend to agree. All right, which of the following mitigation techniques refers to the process of protecting all information on a hard drive, including the programs responsible for booting an operating system? A, network segmentation, B, device isolation, C, full disk encryption, or D, patch management? What is the following mitigation techniques refers to protecting all information on a hard drive, including the programs responsible for booting an operating system? Well, network segmentation, right? That refers to this idea that we're putting things on different VLANs so that if a threat actor does jump on our network, this hopefully mitigates this idea of lateral movement or accessing different areas of the network. Network segmentation doesn't really have anything to do with protecting all information on a hard drive. So this word protecting, they don't want to give it away, but you can change out the word protecting and put encrypting in well. So what is this process of encrypting all information on a hard drive, including the programs responsible for booting an operating system? We know that as C, full disk encryption. And if you chose full disk encryption, we're probably correct. Device isolation, that has to do with keeping our devices isolated. Could be on the network, could be in an air-gapped environment. This has nothing to do necessarily with the hard drive specifically. This is the entire device, the workstation, the laptop, the tablet, whatever. Patch management is this process where we have an organized and consistent approach to how we manage our patches, whether that's through maintenance windows, some kind of group policy. Maybe you do it on, every Thursday after Patch Tuesday at midnight when there's minimal employee activity within the enterprise. C, full disk encryption, like DJ BSEC, I think is the only answer here. Moving on, ladies and gentlemen, this may be all for our late night study session. It's 9:30 my time, which means it's pretty late for you guys. I have to get up about 5:30, try and sneak a workout in, and then commute to work. An organization validates its security controls, processes, and adherence to industry standards and wants an unbiased evaluation to instill confidence among stakeholders. Which method should it employ for this purpose? A, compliance assessment, B, an audit committee, C, a self-assessment, or D, an independent third-party audit? An organization validates its security controls, process, and adherence to security standards and wants an unbiased evaluation, I think that's going to be our key word, to instill confidence among stakeholders. Which method should it employ for this purpose? A, compliance assessment, B, audit committee, C, self-assessment, or D, independent third-party audit? Yeah, everybody's saying the same thing. Everybody that's in class right now is going with the independent third-party audit. A compliance assessment. It looks like they've already done that internally. An audit committee. Well, is it a third-party audit committee? But to me, this sounds like it's internal. This is looking for an unbiased evaluation. It's kind of hard to get an unbiased evaluation from within the company, right? Because typically, yeah, you're going to be working with the companies. Like, yeah, we're compliant. Why not? Shoot. Hey, Shed Owl. Good to see you, my man. Long time friend, first time commenter. Yo, what it is. Good to see you. We study cybersecurity here, Shed Owl. Fundamental cybersecurity concepts for those that are trying to get their first certifications or break into the industry. Good to see you, my friend. And a self-assessment, right? A self-assessment isn't necessarily going to give us that unbiased evaluation that we're looking for. I think our only correct course of action here is this independent third-party audit. All right, moving on. I lied. This is going to be our last question for sure. An organization recently experienced a security breach due to the actions of an employee, Carl, who engaged in an activity that posed a risk to the company's information systems. The employee downloaded unverified software onto the company device, resulting in a malware infection. Damn you, Carl. Following this incident, the company plans to implement a policy to prevent similar occurrences in the future. Which of the following policies is most suitable for addressing this specific issue? A, business continuity and continuity of operations plan. A, an acceptable use policy, what you can and can't do. B, a disaster recovery plan. Or C, a change management policy. Drop what you think is the best answer in chat. Something like that. Good tune. What do we think, fam? There's only one suitable answer here, really, right? This is due to an employee who engaged in activity that posed a risk. The employee downloaded unverified software. Why? What kind of policy? Business continuity and continuity of operations plan. We want to have that anyways. But we're looking to prevent this from happening in the first place. We're looking most likely at some kind of AUP or acceptable use policy. You see these amongst many organizations, kind of everywhere we go. We sign this even when we don't know that we're signing it. This is what you can and can't do with the information systems within the environment, with the equipment that you're using. And typically, it prevents people from breaking this acceptable use policy because you'll get fired or written up, or it'll, be detrimental to your reputation for future employment. So I think our only option here is acceptable use policy. All right, we got through a few questions. There's 80 total. Let's see how we did, team. I have a feeling there was a couple sneakers that might have got us, but let's take a look. Review. Right, so these are the ones we answered. We got through 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 questions. There's a whole bunch more. I don't want to give them away. I've reviewed. Now, our score is going to look pretty crummy because we didn't do the entire practice test. But this will give us a good indicator of how we were on those 10. Come on, baby. Big bucks, no whammies. Let's go. %. We got 12%. Well, let's see how we did. Let's review these questions. Team, I think that we got all of the questions we did The 10 that we got them all correct. Cool. 12% is all correct. Joe Hudson, my man with the plan, my brother from another mother. What is up? Dropping bars. 1, 2, 3 into the foe. Snoop Doggy Doggy Dr. Dre is the dough. Ready to back on up because we about to rip this up. Give the microphone first so I can bust like a bubble. Compton and Joe Hudson together. Now you know you in trouble. Ain't nothing but a G thing, baby. 2 low down players going crazy. Death Row is a label that pays me. Unfadable, so please don't try to phase me. Well, Joe's back with another lecture at hand. Perfection is perfected, so let them understand. Get your resume together. That way you're in the job suit, ain't looking for the bad weather. When it hits, you're ready for when it quits, because you might get laid off, but you don't know how it's gonna go until you go, yo. I'm beside Joe Hudson. It's like seeing Tyler Ramsey in chat. You just want to rap, dude. Big bucks, no whammies. These are from my people. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that ends tonight's late night stream. That's all I got. I'm out. That's why they give me a guitar and not a microphone unless I'm with Joe Hudson. And then I feel like I can rap, but I really can't unless I put my mind to it. Right? You can do it. Put your back into it, right? Come on, let's go. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that ends it for tonight's live stream. A little bit late night, a little bit off the cuff, but we got through. We got all 10 of our CompTIA Security Plus practice questions that we did correct. There were some duties in here. There are some that we got correct, team. These were all difficult. There was a few moderates and one easy. And the first one we start off with, quote unquote, was an expert level question. So I'm cool with that. That means that we're studying and getting somewhere in our practices. I hope that you are having a wonderful week. Look forward to Tuesday. Remember, drop in for Daily Cyber Threat Brief on 8 a.m. tomorrow. Just YouTube, rip a goog, Simply Cyber. You can't miss it. Who knows? You might see Joe Hudson, DJ Bisek. Maybe Zach Hill might be there. Kathy Chambers, Daniel Laurie, Casually Joseph. You never know who's going to be there. We got this. I love you all. I got to run. I got to take care, lock into dad mode, start winding down for the night. Anyways, have a great night. We'll see you on the next one. Peace.